First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present our project here. We are trying to do our best not to take the focus too much off of the subject. And we'll very brief. Oh yeah, sure. Thanks. We have the brochures of our project here in German and English, so just pick whichever you like. We are going to focus. I'm going to focus briefly on the aspects that's well very similar between our projects. And first of all, I'd like to apologize for my voice. I'm suffering, unfortunately, of the downsides from this beautiful weather. I'm having a bit of a cold, so sorry for that. Yeah, our project was AGID, being aging and abbreviation for aging and intellectual disability. The topic of our project, or the basis for our project, was a very, very good background. That is, the life expectancy of people with intellectual disabilities is increasing steadily over the last decades. This is good, of course, but this means new challenges for everyone. It means that people providing care for these people have to face these new challenges because physical and mental changes are occurring in people with intellectual disabilities, just as they are occurring in people growing older all the time. But some challenges are very specific. Furthermore, there is a decrease in the person's autonomy when growing older, and this decrease is often stronger or happening faster than we would expect in the general population. Furthermore, there are changes in the social and family network. And inclusion, just as it was in your project, is a very, very central theme and topic for people with intellectual disabilities as well. So this is really important. So what we were trying to do is we were trying to find new ways to give people profound know-how as how to cope with these issues. As I mentioned earlier, the life expectancy is growing for people with intellectual disabilities. As you can see, during the last years, the amount of persons with intellectual disabilities growing older has increased steadily, and so we are facing a new population that requires care. The aim of our project was to impart knowledge, just as it was with your project. But our primary focus was to impart knowledge on the carers, in order to help them increase the quality of life for people with intellectual disabilities themselves. So carers can be a very heterogeneous group of people. It can be family members caring for, let's say, the child, the brother, the sister, whatever, or it can be professional carers providing help for people with intellectual disabilities. And a very important group as well, healthcare professionals like doctors, like psychologists, that need to focus on specific problems of older people with intellectual disabilities as well. And the main goal was behind all that to increase the quality of life for people with intellectual disabilities. And all of this that's a kind of the most important sentence behind our project. Nothing about us without us. It's the most important sentences for people with intellectual disabilities working in the policy field. And it's basically, we don't want to conduct a project about people, talking about them, trying to find out what's best for them, but rather trying to ask them what they want, what they feel they need when they are growing older. So that was basically the main target, and that aim changed the way we we went through the project completely. So the process in which we went through the project was, at the first point, just similar to what you did, is we evaluated the needs, what knowledge is necessary to cope with the challenges that rise due to higher age in people with intellectual disabilities. And to do that, we actually went into partner countries and we asked both family members, carers for people with intellectual disabilities, health experts from healthcare, and that was important to us, people with intellectual disabilities, what they feel that is necessary knowledge. Based on this information, we created 6 modules, the content for 6 modules. I will just briefly present the topics later on. And then, after we made sure by evaluating these contents in a Delphi process that this is really the content people needed, we transformed the content into an online training. Afterwards, we had to translate the training. We had partners from several countries all over the European Union, from France, from Great Britain, from Italy, and so we had to translate the modules into each language to make sure that people are actually going to use them. And afterwards, we tried to evaluate the usability of the interactive online training platform by conducting online tests all over the partner countries. Well, the training platform itself right now is online and should be accessible in all languages. The translation into German at least and English is working as it should. It is completely free of charge to use, just like the literacy project. We had divided the content into 6 modules because we realized what we want to teach is pretty much information. And we want to make sure that people are really going to use it and they won't be using it if they know, okay, I have to go through 1,000 pages of information. So we decided to split it and make it usable topic per topic. So if I want to use, if I want to know more about, let's say, pathological aging processes in people with intellectual disabilities, I could just use this module and don't have to go through all the other modules. We try to make sure that people get most out of their time by giving them the possibility to self-evaluate their progress, their knowledge by providing quizzes and reflection exercises. The modules themselves, I'll just mention the topics briefly, is the aging process from a rather social psychological point of view, what means aging for people with intellectual disability, person-centered planning for older people with intellectual disability, social network and communication for older people with intellectual disabilities, what changes, what stays the same. And since that was also a very, very important topic in our focus groups, emotional regulation for frontline staff, caring for older people with intellectual disabilities. Some topics in caring for people with intellectual disabilities can be very stressful, very emotionally burdening, such like topics like death. And so we wanted to give carers as well some tools to better be able to work with people with intellectual disabilities. We did a module on pathological aging in people with ID and a topic on professionally taking care for older people with intellectual disability, which tries to convey a mindset on how to be able to best care for people with intellectual disabilities. Well, what we experienced was quite the same, I think, with the literacy project experienced during their project. it was really interesting for me to hear all the experience of you, because we had kind of 3 points that were both challenges and opportunities at the same time. I'm really not sure which of it was more. Between our team, between the nations, and between the professions that composed of our team, we had different approaches and views of the topics we were discussing, because there were national differences, often quite cultural differences. We had legal differences. The legal system in some of the countries were quite different to, let's say, Austrian legal system. We had different professional backgrounds, just as within the literacy project. We had, it took us quite some time to translate all the modules, all the deliverables, and we had some issues in ensuring that we had enough graphical support to make our modules really easy to follow and interesting to follow. And last but not least, it was quite a challenge to make sure that all project phases were truly inclusive. It was easy in the first phases because it is easy to ask, what do you want that people learn? But it got pretty difficult when we had feasibility questionnaire, or when we had a module of, let's say, 100 pages, and we wanted to know whether or not that is what a person with intellectual disability feels as that's what she wants that is conveyed about people with intellectual disabilities. And so I took the liberty of trying to find some similarities between the AGID project and the literacy project. So I think the inclusion of persons that are at risk of being excluded of society as kind of the main aim is what really is the same for both projects, and I'm really, really happy to see that literacy project has the same focus on the social inclusion as primary goal. It really makes me happy. Second, we have a really high amount of similarities concerning the opportunities and challenges I just mentioned. And I think for some of the opportunities and challenges we found similar approaches to overcome these challenges and to maximize these opportunities that we had by creating a web-based solution to a problem that exists in society. And last but not least, I think what might be the essential point here is it shouldn't be necessary to reinvent the wheel for each project. It's not necessary to begin at zero within every project that kind of focuses on the same aim, of the same goal. I think it would be very interesting to try to come up with a common framework for such e-learning projects like literacy or like AGID, because most of the process was very similar. Most of the artifacts that were created during this process were very similar. Yeah, that's my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very, very much for that highly meaningful project that you're engaging with, and also for your thoughtful reflections on bringing together the similarities in particular. I'm really touched by by what you presented. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Are there time for any questions?
Yeah, we have to.
I just want to make a comment. So first of all, I want to thank my young colleague Andreas Kocman for this nice presentation you did over here, and for your attentive listening to it. And I want to address just your last point you made, looking for a common framework out of these two projects. I think that is of most great importance to find an added value to these projects. And that is also the European Commission is looking at how we can put some bridges between European funded projects. And here it is really straight ahead that we should work on it. And if you then in addition if you know that Andreas, he is not only a psychologist, but at this moment he is enrolled to study informatics in this building. So we are just on the best position to do this. So we should go ahead.
I would love to.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to add that in Israel, when we talk about accessibility for websites, it's accessibility not only for disabled people, but also for elderly people. They put it all in one basket. I mean, the people with disabilities and the elderly population, which has sometimes similar disabilities because of age and not because of something else. And it's a lot of, they always mention it together, so it goes with what you said.
But we had it rather easy because we only needed to find a way that was accessible to frontline staff, to users that work with people with intellectual disabilities. While the literacy project had to find a way to convey information directly to people with dyslexia. So I think in this matter, the literacy project did a tremendous work, because it must have been so much more difficult to find a suitable way to present the information for the literacy project.
Thank you for your appreciation.